Rick is a great man. I said, everybody that comes into the jail that's new, Rick's gonna be right there to help them through it, so it's very good.
Thank you, Bill.
Yep.
All right, our next item is citizens to be heard. Do we have any citizens here who wish to be heard on something that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the bills and vouchers.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Approval of minutes from April 11th.
So move. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. At this time, we would just like to recognize Oak Mound Cemetery for a $150 donation that was put towards the jail work detail. I think they've shown that how much they really appreciate when those folks get out and do some things to help the community. So thank you to Oak Mound Cemetery Group. All right, our 8:35 item is our annual Children's Local Advisory Council report. And we have Carolyn is going to come up.
And Melissa.
And Melissa is joining, okay. Good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Hi.
We are here this morning to present to you our annual report from the Children's Local Advisory Council for Mental Health. As you know, this is a council that is parent-driven, and we have a number of responsibilities within the council and some activities that we do. And one of those is to report to this board on an annual basis. So you should have received in your packet kind of a summary or our annual report of our various activities that we participated in. We were at the Week of the Young Child Kid Fest event a couple of weeks ago and had lots of fun with the kids. We had a little game at our booth, and kids had to show us their happy faces and mad faces, and we asked all the little kids who landed on the mad one if they ever got mad, and they all assured us they never did. And the parent was standing behind shaking their head, yes, they do. So that was rather fun. I won't read the whole report to you, but I will kind of note a couple of things. One of the things that we did in partnership with the Early Childhood Initiative was a Take a Break series. We provided at least once a month an activity for any staff within the county building. It was open to all county employees, as well as all of the partnering agencies with the Clay County Collaborative. Just an opportunity for them to learn some self-care tips and techniques. Staff, as you know, are very busy with heavy caseloads, and so we wanted to do something just for them as well. You have an invitation as well in your packet for our upcoming mental health networking lunch, and we would invite any of you that would like to attend that to please do so. It's another opportunity in May to kind of highlight the mental health awareness piece and thank those that are doing the work in the mental health field here in our community. Today we are hosting a brown bag lunch on suicide, and last fall we did one as well on fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. You also should have had in your packet a Who Do I Call brochure. Those are updated brochures with all of the mental health providers here in our community that families can access. This brochure is online as well on the county website under the mental health services, and it is also distributed to all of our mental health clinics and schools as well. The other piece that was not in your packet that I will pass out to you is a new recruiting tool that we have for the LAC. And again, those will be distributed out into the community and with our case managers to get more parent and family involvement on the committee. So just going into briefly some of those current challenges, I think that this is something we talked about probably last year as well, that the children that our providers are seeing have some very significant and complex mental health needs. It sometimes is kind of a family situation that needs to be addressed across both family and child as well. We really need as many of those skilled interventions and coordination of those services as possible within the community. We continue to see an increase in referrals for both case management, but mostly for our CTSS services, which is Child Therapeutic Services and Supports. It's a Medicaid-funded program, and we have mostly the trouble is trying to find enough staff for it to do that work. So agencies are, in particular, are always advertising for those positions as well as other mental health providers. As our need grows, the amount of providers in our community have not been able to keep pace because we just don't have it. It's very difficult to find a psychiatrist. Lakeland just found someone now who could administer medication and monitor that, and it took them several months to do that. So transportation continues to be an issue, although we continue to work on that. And then with the increase of out-of-home placement numbers, that has decreased the amount of space we have for respite care for our families. So that has been a challenge as well. As far as looking at our priorities and our needs, the LAC coordinated with the Clay County Collaborative in their strategic planning, and so much of this information came from that combined work. So the priorities that we are seeing right now is just increasing that number of mental health professionals, including those that are trained in that infant and early childhood mental health. We really see success with those kids when we can get them early enough to kind of impact that attachment as well as reduce their exposure to some traumatic events. We continue to work on addressing childhood trauma and how that affects both the child and their families. And we are looking at a system-wide approach to that, which the LAC will be very much at the table with us. We have had some requests from the rural schools, talking about having some mental health programming in their schools as well. And Rhonda and Amy and myself, along with some of the mental health providers, did have one meeting with them, and that is something that we will most likely continue to explore. And then the other component that really floated to the top is just a need for locally residential placement, a residential treatment program here within our community. As you know, when we send kids away, it's very expensive when we send them outside of the county, but it's also very difficult then for that family to be involved in that treatment program. And because we have some kids with some pretty high behaviors and some aggressive children as well, it's really important that we continue to look at how we can serve them within the county and what kind of a structure and types of homes that we need to have. And it's a conversation that we've had at the LAC, and it's a conversation that we've had with Rhonda and Amy on a number of occasions, and something we'll just have to continue to look at. As far as successes, I will let you know that we did get the MAP bus increased to do some evening hours at the Family Service Center. So we were very pleased and happy about that, as well as those that frequent that building. So Monday through Friday, there will be some evening times that they can use the MAP bus, which is really great. Both Melissa and I attended the Minnesota Association for Children's Mental Health Conference last week. It was pretty amazing, wasn't it? And one of the pieces that we participated in was a legislative update. And I was happy to hear that the proposal for some additional school-based mental health is still in the mix. It's still in the conversation. And so hopefully that'll make it through to the end. And if it does, we'll be encouraging our rural schools to apply for those dollars as well. One of the other needs that came through as the strategic planning was the mobile crisis response program, and that went 24/7 as of June. They've seen an increase in calls, even in times when they typically have a low period, like over the holidays, but they are also seeing an increase during those times as well. And then just to kind of pat the Children's LAC in the back, because we know, because Melissa and I participate in it, we know, and we believe that it's really a fantastic group to be a part of. But as we did the strategic planning with a collaborative, it was noted several times in there, the strength of the Children's LAC and how important they are as a component to our system, because we do so much networking and learning and sharing of that information and stuff. And so, and we're very appreciative that we have Commissioner Haney on our LAC. He's doing a great job at learning all the acronyms and figuring things out. So, yeah, that is the report. I don't know, Melissa, if you have anything you wanted to add? No. Okay, summed it up.
I have one question. You said you had trouble getting help and stuff with that. Is that paid help or volunteer help that you're looking for?
It is help. It's paid help, yeah. But they have to have, you know, a certain credential for those various levels of the mental health things. And some of it is because with school in session, they can only see kids after school. So that kind of limits how many children they can have on their caseload to do CTSS. So. You have also in your packet our updated membership list that we would ask for the board approval for that, as well as a proclamation for Children's Mental Health Day, which is Thursday of this week. We encourage you to wear green on that day because that's the color of mental health is green. And anyone who would like to stop by our LAC meets on Thursday at 8:30, and I have promised the crew donuts, so anyone who would like to join us, they are certainly welcome to do that as well.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the,
I'll make a motion to approve the membership list.
Second.
motion and a second? Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. And do you want to read, Frank, do you want to read the resolution?
I can read it, I guess.
Looks like you were going to make a motion to.
Yeah, I was gonna make a motion to approve
Might
it,
as well.
but I thought you were gonna read it, but I can read it. We'll get her done. Whereas addressing the complex mental health needs of children, youth, and families today is fundamental to the future of Clay County. Whereas the need for comprehensive, coordinated mental health services for children, youth, young adults, and families places upon our community a critical responsibility. Whereas it is appropriate that a day should be set apart each year for the direction of our thoughts for our children's mental health and well-being. Whereas Clay County Local Advisory Council for Children's Mental Health, through its unique approach to serving children, youth, young adults, and young adults with mental health or substance use disorders, is effectively caring for the mental health needs of children, youth, young adults, and their families in our community. Now therefore, we, Clay County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim May 4, 2017 to be a Children's Mental Health Awareness Day in Clay County, and urge our citizens and all agencies and organizations interested in meeting every child's mental health needs to unite on that day in the observance of the important work occurring in our communities to address the needs of children, youth, and young adults with mental health or substance use disorders and their families.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Here's the proclamation for signature.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Okay, next we have the annual Adults Local Advisory Council report. Allison. Good morning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here once again. Let's see, as you guys said, I represent the Clay County Adult Mental Health Local Advisory Council, and we're here to present our annual report. Our reporting period is from May of 2016 to April of 2017. I'd like to read our mission statement. The Local Adult Mental Health Advisory Council's mission is to advise and educate the County Board of unmet needs of adults with mental illness and their families in Clay County, to review and evaluate the continuum of services, and for adults with mental illness, to provide public education and awareness of mental illness, and to promote mental health in Clay County. How we've gone about doing that this past year is having monthly meetings, and we've also had the opportunity over the past summer to visit various rural events. Well, we found that our outreach to the rural Clay County community was not as strong as within, the city of Moorhead and Dilworth. So we attended 7 events. Fairs like the Clay County Fair, the Holly Rodeo, and other such community, rural community events. We provided information about the local advisory council, talked to people about mental health and the importance of overall health, and we're able to just bring some normality about it to the community. We've also had many different presentations about dealing with mental health in our community. I don't have a list of them here because they've been quite a lot we've learned about. One notably was about the consumer support programs within, it's available throughout the state. So it was very informative. We do have some recommendations that I would like to share with you. The first one, and this is on page 3, is psychiatric psychotherapy and community support programs. Over the last year, mental health providers have been reporting their waiting list numbers for case management, adult rehabilitative mental health services, which is ARMS, adult psychiatry, and adult psychotherapy. Waiting lists for case management and ARMS at Lakeland has been averaging about 16 and 28 respectively, while waiting lists for psychotherapy and psychiatry are 2 to 3 weeks and 2 to 3 months respectively. A portion of these individuals desire keeping their services at Lakeland, while some may be in need of the income-based sliding fee scale for psychotherapy and psychiatry that is offered through a contract between Clay County and Mental Health, Lakeland Mental Health.
Can I make a comment on
Yep.
that really quick? I am happy to report that those access times have, as we all know, have been a problem with Lakeland, but they have acquired a new psychologist, and so we're hoping that the times will go down. So
Wonderful.
that is a good thing. I know that was a conversation that was 9+ months in the making, so.
The Community Support Programs, or CSP grant, is provided through one mental health provider. This grant is for specific activities with clients that they cannot bill other entities for, such as Medicare and Medicaid. Consumer choice is an important part of mental health recovery. With the current system in place, individuals are forced to work with a particular provider if they need these benefits. The Clay County Adult Mental Health Local Advisory Council recommends to explore and implement a system for consumers to receive income-based sliding field psychotherapy and psychiatry with the provider of their choice. Explore the expansion of community support grants, CSP, to multiple agencies. And to coordinate with Clay County Social Services, Clay County Adult LAC, and area mental health providers to implement the effective expansion of CSP grant dollars to interested organizations. Since the retirement of Wayne Ingersoll on the Clay County Commissioners, we do not have a representative from the Clay County Commissioners attending our monthly meetings. Having a Clay County Commissioner representative attend future meetings would allow the Clay County Commissioners to have more information about the current adult mental health needs within Clay County, and would allow the Commissioners to address any acute need identified by the Clay County Adult Mental Health LAC in between annual reports. We recommend having a designated Clay County Commissioner representative attend future Clay County Adult Mental Health meetings.
My question is, I thought that we had appointed Commissioner Haney to this. Has it been a lack of communication as to when the meetings are for him? Because I thought we went through all of Commissioner Ingersoll's.
Yeah. Do we have the?
You got it right here.
We have the list.
Yep.
And if so, I wonder if we're
Yep.
being notified
Nope,
of when the
it's,
meetings
it's, on my list, yeah.
are. Okay.
And that had happened when I came on the board, things that John had been on, and sometimes it's hard to communicate, so let's just make sure that,
Yeah.
that.
Do you wanna
since-
write down my email address?
We don't have
What?
a pen.
Why don't we do
Well,
that after?
yeah.
What we'll do
Make
is,
sure
what
that-
we'll do is we'll have administration reach you with contact information, and you can make sure Commissioner Haney is aware of the times of the meetings. And
Don't go by what they have there from the Children's Mental Health, because they've got my wrong email address in the
Okay.
directory.
Oh,
So you might, and then hopefully sometimes all the committees, each and every one to serve on, we do end up from time to time having conflicts where we can't make it, but
yes.
certainly if Jim is aware of it, he'll try to be there, so.
Wonderful.
So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you. We do have one dealing with the Crisis Intervention Team Training, CIT. Moorhead Police Department, Clay County Sheriff's Department, and the Clay County Jail are working towards 100% of their officers being Crisis Intervention Team certified. Currently, approximately 55% of Moorhead police officers and 17% of Clay County Sheriff's Department officers are certified. With the high turnover and low staffing within the Moorhead Police Department, it has been difficult to retain and train officers who are CIT certified. To be CIT certified, excuse me. With the increasing rate of those living with mental illness in the jail system, there's a growing need for jail officers to also be CIT certified so they can properly address the mental health needs of their population. Having more CIT certified police officers, jail officers, and first responders creates a safer community by appropriately addressing acute mental health concerns, which is an increasing part of their responsibilities. We recommend to identify action steps to decrease the barriers, for example, time and staffing concerns of law enforcement officers, first responders, and jail staff taking the CIT training. And also explore all funding and grant opportunities to expand the number of area law enforcement officers, first responders, and jail staff who are crisis intervention team certified. That is our 3 recommendations for this reporting period. On page 5, we have a member list for approval. These are individuals who are members of the Adult Local Advisory Council. And we also like to recognize those who are not did not meet membership criteria but do participate regularly, such as FM Ambulance, the Fergus Falls Community Behavioral Health Hospital, Moorhead Police Department, and Vocational Rehabilitation Services.
Okay.
I'll move to approve the list.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the list.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion on that motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. I do want to talk to you about your crisis intervention team training recommendations. I know there's been a lot of discussion that's currently going on in terms of identifying and recognizing a lot of things, including the use of opioid issues. And I know, you know, we can certainly make sure that the CIT training is discussed, you know, with our sheriff's department and our jail administration, and we'll see how that all can incorporate. And I know it's going to probably be a component of when we move in, and you know, we're hopefully going to change a lot of things when it comes to the behavioral health issues in our new facility. So we will be talking with Rhonda. Do you want to come up?
I do.
Sure.
I am just excited to say that,
Why don't you come up and talk into the
Okay.
microphone, please?
in regards to CIT, and I haven't communicated that with the LAC yet, so I
Yeah.
apologize. But we are actually gonna host a CIT training coming up here in June. And so the focus is our law enforcement and our jail staff. And then we're gonna host another one in the fall in Ottertail County. So we'll send our, actually with Wilkin, our 3-county law enforcement. And then we're going to include CIT training next year into a grant that we're gonna be writing in October. So we are on it, and we're excited, and our law enforcement is excited as well, and our jail staff to get the training, so.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think in today's day, I think it's, you know, it's pretty important that these people have the ability to recognize certain issues, and you get that through training, so we'll try to work that out. Yeah,
I
Commissioner?
just want to comment, Allison, you've been really active in the Jail Mental Health Advisory Board, and thank you for what you've brought to that. And I think part of the CIT training, that was really a discussion that happened at that mental health level, and kind of had gave the approval to look for some grant possibilities. So thanks for what you brought to that.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, well, we'll keep working on your recommendations.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
I'm also supposed to be up here for the next part, too.
Oh, okay, all right, you're for the Place for Hope?
Yes.
Okay,
Our executive director would like to extend her regrets that she was unable to be here today to present this herself. She is finishing up her last class today of nonprofit leadership training. So as the chair of the board of directors for Place for Hope, she asked me to come and present this report.
okay.
My first time doing this, so I'm not exactly sure what all to talk about.
We have got the,
We do have the review.
the report. We've
Wonderful.
had that in advance, so.
Well, I trust that your reading capabilities are just above par, so I won't read through all
Some
of
of us
this.
are better than others.
But I would like to kind of let you guys know that over the past year, there's been a lot of changes. Not only expanding our, to start, not only the bringing on of different staff, so there's been some leadership changes, but as well as growing and, in my opinion, improving our board of directors. We have, last year we met for a strategic planning session amongst our board members and discovered that we didn't have the membership on our board of directors that adequately assisted us with not only growing, but operating and expanding our organization effectively. So over the past year, we've been trying to concentrate on more business involvement with our board of directors, such as people familiar with business management, finance, of course, always need that. Leadership in mental health and community health, and fundraising, marketing, and all those areas that we felt we were falling short. So we are working to build that so we can have a more well-rounded board.
Okay.
I noticed on the handout that you talk about the pounds of food that's distributed. Is that in meals, or do you hand out food baskets of donated food? What is that?
We don't do baskets per se.
Right.
We do have shelves in
Okay.
our refrigerator and freezer. We do collect food
Okay.
from Great Plains Food Bank and other sources. And we provide food available for people to come in and take home with them, as well as preparing meals.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Our total attendance continues to grow. Our total membership continues to grow with many individuals who were prior members returning. So that's a very positive sign. So some of our changes must be appealing to someone. We did, I will go over our financial summary. Our operating budget for 2016 was $151,759. Our actual revenue was $179,123.73. We obtained our income from BCOW, Clay County Mental Health Initiative, and the Otto Bremer Trust and smaller grant donations, fundraising, and billable expense income and miscellaneous income. Actual expenses were $133,110.97. Most expenses were payroll related, including contributions, taxes, and wages, and rent. The rest of the expenses were office supplies, insurance, and other expenses. Then we have included our budget and our profit and loss statement. I would like to say that we do have an upcoming fundraiser this coming Saturday, and it will take place at Access Clinicals. It is a car show and silent auction for anyone who would like to come and participate in that. Like I said, it's this Saturday, Dilworth. I don't quite know the address for Access Clinicals, but it's the old Walmart building.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And so if any of you are able to attend, that would be wonderful. Information is on our Facebook page and probably our website too. And thank you.
Okay.
Did you have any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Allison.
Good job.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
yes, yes. Oh, you had, there was a, well, that's the next item.
Do you need,
That's the next.
you don't need us to approve the membership list for this?
No.
No.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is the Foster Parent Appreciation Proclamation. We have Amy and Gail.
We're about a half hour ahead.
Oh, we are way ahead of time, aren't we? You know what, we can wait a little bit. Let's wait a little bit. We can do a couple other things here. We'll have to go to our committee reports because we don't see anybody else doing any of theirs. So. Jenny, do you want to
Yep.
start this one?
Thank you, Commissioner. Last week, I attended the opioid presentation. Commissioner Campbell and I were part of a discussion that happened at the Joint Powers level, and it really kind of spurred our interest as to what is happening with the Mayor's Blue Ribbon Commission, also what's happening on the Minnesota side. So I believe all of us were there for at least some portion of that, and it really was a fantastic discussion of people at all different levels, different organizations that are going on in the Fargo-Moorhead community, a lot of which I've never heard of, that things were going on, so I appreciate that. I think that it's an issue, one, that significantly affects our county budget, as we are all very aware in different areas, but I think it's something that we need to look critically going forward as to what, if anything, the county board can do to help mitigate some of those issues. So thank you to Gina Nolte, and thank you to Kathy McKay and staff for organizing that. So I also, last week, attended a meeting with Lakeland Mental Health. We had staff reviews, and because of that, the fun snow that we received, I was not able to make it to the land management meeting, so I think Commissioner Campbell can report on that. And then Friday, I attended the Lakes and Prairies annual meeting there at the Marriott in Moorhead, where we had staff recognition and gave out some awards to people that have been volunteering there for a very long time. So things continue to be good there, and financials look good. And we are looking forward to having 2 Head Start classrooms in South Moorhead at their new facility in September. So that concludes my reports.
Are they gonna still have the Head Start here?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep,
that's,
these are in addition.
okay, thank you. Commissioner Whalen?
Let's see, I had a recorder's compliance meeting last week, and Diane will be coming to the board, I'm sure, in the near future with the recommendations on that. I attended that opioid discussion thing for most of it. I had another meeting in Fargo I had to be at for EDC for their update on the workforce issues going on in the community, and a lot of amazing things being worked on there, and hopefully it'll be productive, because the report was there's going to be lots of job opportunities available in the Cass and Clay County area in the next 5 to 10 years. Let's see, I had solid waste advisory meeting, and I passed around the latest update on the transfer station, and that's, I think they said it was 65% complete. That's about where they're at with it. And then the issues are still trying to get the money from the state of Minnesota, the bonding money, and there's hope that that's still going to be a possibility for this year, but if not this year, hopefully next year. So you had a flood diversion meeting, board meeting, and had updates from staff on the diversion, and then we had an update on the executive director position, and this is currently where they're at with that, if anybody wants to take a look at that. And let's see, anything else I had? I think that was it for me.
Okay. Commissioner Gross?
Okay, I was also at that opioid session last Tuesday morning, and just what I took away from that is, you know, the overprescribing of opioids by doctors and stuff. And it really was, I mean, because a lot of times when we have surgery, we take 2 or 3 pain pills, but we have a bottle of 30. So there's excessive opioids out there that we got, and there was a collection of it last Saturday, and hopefully everybody got rid of their extra ones. I also went to the volunteer, Jim and I went to the volunteer appreciation for the drivers for social services, and that was interesting to find out that they're saving us about $61,000 a year for the drivers, the driving that they do, you know, and it's just a group of people that do the job and don't complain. It's just a nice group of people to be with there. Wednesday, I went to the audit of the Partnership for Health. It looks very good, you know, that the audit's gonna come out real good, but there'll be a formal presentation of that, you know, but it's just the initial going over it, what they found and stuff like that. Wednesday night, went to Linden City Council. A lot of discussion. There's gonna be a lot of things happening in Linden. I mean, this year they're gonna be doing Highway 10 through Linden going east and west. Next year's gonna be Park Avenue going north and south, a whole mile going north and south. So Linden's gonna be a very busy town, and They're looking at updating the community center, see what the kind of funds they got available there, so Lyndon's gonna be a busy city for the next couple of years. Last night I went up to Ulen to the township meeting up there. Things are going good for their township. They're one of the townships that contract out for their services, and they said it's about equal, you know, whatever they're doing, and, you know, they're happy with what they got and stuff like that, so, but, everything's going good for that township, so that was a good visit. That's it.
And I attended on Tuesday the insurance committee meeting, and we heard that there was kind of a gap in the numbers on that, and they're going to address that on the June 6th additional meeting, and that was, I believe, single parents with children or something like that, wasn't it? That there was not a number for that, and they needed
Just
to.
one adult with children.
One adult with children.
Yeah, we're looking at the possibility of adding another choice.
Yeah.
And it, you know, we have to, I think there's gonna be a survey that's gonna be done, and we gotta always keep in mind how that coincides with labor contracts and how it, if it changes our, what do we call that, Darren, the main plan? That are, yeah, that all of our contributions are based on. I can't ask Brian now because he can't talk, so.
Okay, and then also attended the opioid meeting, and my takeaway from that was one of the things that seems to be the most dangerous situations is that drug dealers are taking fentanyl and forming that into pills that look identical to oxycodone and hydrocodone, and this is how fentanyl is getting into the children or the victims of it, and of course it's deadly. They think, well, I've had this oxy 100 times before, that's not going to hurt me, and they take it and it's fentanyl, and it's too late. We've lost 30 people in the community in the last year to overdoses, and that's unbelievable. And then also on Wednesday, Commissioner Campbell and myself attended the Moorhead Business Association breakfast meeting at 7 a.m. and we, the MBA welcomed the new city manager, Christine Volkers, to the city of Moorhead, and she gave us her impressions of the community, and it was really a dynamic and wonderful meeting. And welcome to our community, Christine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, on the opioid, you know, Commissioner Gross, I think you're spot on one of the important components of that is the overprescribing of those drugs, and unfortunately they also carry a high value to them, and so it's, you know, some of these people look at it as an opportunity to make dollars off of other people's weaknesses, I guess you might say. So it's, but there's an awful lot of discussion going on, and I couldn't stay very long at that meeting, but I thought it was very, very well reported on by a large group of different people. So so I too had the insurance committee meeting, and we are looking at the pros and cons of adding the single plus dependent. We'd have to do that for all the different types of policies that we have. We also did talk about potentially offering another deferred compensation option for our employees besides the single one that we currently do have, so there will be some more coming out on that as well. Then on Wednesday, I had the MBA breakfast, which Jim reported on, and as members from time to time, they do have voting, and so now that we're a member, we probably should formally adopt who should be that voting member on behalf of Clay County. I know before we talked about it, anybody can go to that, but I think because we should probably have a delegated member and maybe an alternate to go to that. So I'm putting that out there for the board to.
It might be appropriate to have it as the chair, the current chair, I mean, of the board.
I agree. Yeah, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've been a member of the MBA since it started, so I would be happy to be the alternate.
And that puts it on you. I didn't mean to put it on you.
Well,
I just thought that, quite typically, the chair is involved with more things, and if that seems appropriate to be the voting member, but.
Well, I'll make a motion, make Kevin
Designated.
designated and Jim being the alternate.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Is that for the chair or for the?
No, I think I'm just gonna make it with Kevin, and
Okay.
we'll decide next year we need to realign.
Okay.
We always realign our stuff in the beginning of the year, and I don't think it's a chair position. I mean, I realize that, the chair is more involved, but, Mohamed's also part of your district, so. I'm going to just leave it at Kevin and
Okay,
Jim.
any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Okay, and I do agree that Christine gave a really good report. And it was followed by a really good dialogue amongst the NBA members. And that particular week, there were members of the city council and the mayor there. And there was quite a bit of dialogue regarding recent activities at the council level. And I thought it was really, really good that they had that dialogue. And then the Wednesday, I also had the public outreach meeting, and they're starting to put together some things for an outreach plan for the impacted property owners. And what's happening now is they're getting closer to identifying using FEMA's new floodplain in terms of determining the area of impact. So it's something that's going to continue on, and there's been a lot of letters sent out to landowners to have one-on-one meetings with them. The land management meeting was also that same day. We did talk about the Ag Committee meeting that had been held prior to that, and there were 3 areas that were brought up regarding the draft mitigation plan, and Commissioner Mojo had raised a couple of them here, and one was the beet growers issue as it pertains to stocks, and then also on the loss averages based on years. And a third one that was brought up was compensating landowners for cleanup when the diversion is in process, and of course you end up with trees and debris and that type of thing, and how that would be handled. So all of those items are on the radar screen, and we're going to try to incorporate answers to those in the next version of the draft mitigation plan. The Minnesota property that we agreed to sell that is no longer needed is scheduled to sell at 10 a.m. on June 23rd, and that's going to be at the Pfeiffer's corporate office in Moorhead.
That's a Volk property.
Yeah, it's a Volk property, yeah. So, and then Thursday morning, I had the Solid Waste Advisory Committee meeting, which was been reported on. We got the update from Matt Evans. I think the big area of concern is the bonding bill. And I do know there is an aggressive schedule that they talked about that day, provided that the bonding is done. They're saying that construction can actually start in September on that. Well, I remind them that we still have an awful lot that we need to do prior to that. We need to have MOUs with the city of Moorhead, and ownership issues to work out. And not only that, but just who's gonna run it. So there's a lot of work still to be done on that. Then that afternoon, we actually had the Flood Diversion Authority meeting, and Commissioner Wynn passed around the executive director brochure that's out there. There were some changes made on some contracts for services that need to be updated because timing had ran out on some of those, and I have documents on here if anybody wishes to see those. Then yesterday we did have our semi-monthly, or every other week, I guess, we have the construction update with construction engineers. And we went over a lot of the issues. We talked significantly about, right now, a lot of discussion's been around our power plant area and the work that's going on there. And Joe's really kind of on top of those issues on behalf of the county. We did have some discussion regarding the contaminated soil found. That has been removed already, so, but that process did come with a cost that's coming out of our owner's contingency, which we're thankful that we had. And originally we had talked, I think we talked at our last board meeting that we were looking at about 41,000. I think we talked about that here. And that, I think that number is going to hold fairly true, but then there was an additional cost. It's not completely tabulated yet, but to remove those contaminated soils, we might be looking at, I think the estimate right now that construction engineers gave us about $11,300.
What was the contaminant?
Oil from those tanks. And then I think they're going to have a scientific description of that if you want to have it.
Petrochemical ketones or something.
Let's see if there's
Black skunk.
Yeah. Then we did talk more about there's coordination going on about the old jail and law enforcement center does have some asbestos in there, and they're trying to plan that for a 10-day period to remove that at the appropriate time, so it doesn't hold up everything else. So, and then we had more discussions regarding the next Tuesday's groundbreaking ceremony. I think that pretty much covers that report. That is all that I have. And we're going to forego on. Oh, you have a typed report? Yeah. Okay. Brian had a minor little procedure done, so he's can't talk. So.
Best week of the year then, so
Did you want this read, Brian? Okay, so we have it. All right, so this is just information on the things that he's attended. Most of them are things that have already been reported on here, so you can read those, and if there's any questions on them, you can direct those to Brian. Okay, I think we're back on track here. So do we have our presenters now for, okay, so the Foster Parent Appreciation Proclamation, Amy and Gail. Looks like we have a third one too.
Okay. So, as you're aware, May is National Foster Care Appreciation Month. So we're here to recognize our foster homes of Clay County. In appreciation of our foster parents, we're going to be sending them out a free gift card to Nardini for a service for their fire extinguishers, along with a gift card to Dairy Queen for a box of dilly bars. Currently, we have 47 foster homes licensed in Clay County. We have 13 homes in the process of being licensed and 7 relative foster homes in the process of being licensed for foster care. So last month, we had 5 new applicants. which is very exciting. And we are just really appreciative of the extra position that we receive so we can strike while the iron's hot and meet with them and get them going on the licensing process.
I have a quick question. How many did we lose last month?
Maybe two.
Okay.
And for the reasons of one is moving out of state,
Right.
and the other reason was they've adopted and
Right.
are closing their license. So no negative closures.
Right, right.
So in 2006, we added a half position to our foster care licensing department, which is Alex Isak over here. Prior to that, Alex was doing our adoption permanency cases and half of a child protection caseload case. Well, actually, she probably had more than half of a child protection caseload. So we were able to remove that from her, have her focus on these permanency adoption cases along with helping us get these relatives licensed, which really, we have a certain time frame we have to work on to get those relatives licensed so we can continue to receive federal funding. So she's really been able to focus on getting those relatives licensed and to help us get to permanency quicker on these children who can be adopted and be done with foster care and or the custody of those children can be transferred to their relatives. So that's been a very exciting thing that we've had over the last several months. Some of our efforts over the last year, we've also too with this new position have been able to focus on recruitment. So we did co-hosted an event at MSUM and talked about the need for foster homes in Clay County. We sent out 300 bookmarks in bags to children that were given out at Kid Fest. We gathered and created a list of county churches and we're going to be sending out letters for them to talk to their parishes about becoming foster parents, and whether it be foster parents or just respite homes like Carolyn had reflected in the collaborative, needing these homes that maybe could just provide one weekend of month of respite care to children. So we have started to focus on that. We're going to be having a booth at the Children's Advocacy Center training in May in hopes that maybe there might be teachers or professionals that might be there that might be interested in becoming a foster home. We also are working with the Children's Collaborative. We agreed that they would contribute $1,000 to working on recruitment for foster homes, events that we could be in, and also utilizing money to foster parents or potential foster homes that might have small barriers to becoming licensed, whether it's buying carbon monoxide detectors or things that they might struggle with that we could help them along in the process of becoming licensed. A couple other things that I reflected on adding Alex's position, but, and I'll let Gail and Alex talk a little bit more to this, but they also started a foster parent support group. So retaining our foster parents and having them be able to come together and talk about some of the struggles or challenges that they have, and so they feel that support. And then we're also going to be hosting a specialized training for foster parents on some of, more of the nuts and bolts of foster parenting, how kids react after visits and different things. And I'll let them talk a little bit more about that. And then we also revised our foster care brochure, so I just would send those around to you guys. And then I had presented at MSUM, and in January of 2016, we had 201 unduplicated children in out-of-home placement. And as of April 2017, we have 140 unduplicated kids in out-of-home placement. So our numbers are going down.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah, felt like I had some good news today.
Can I go back to the beginning of your report? You said we got 47 homes in Clay County, and then what was the other two figures?
13 are in the process, so we couldn't, they're, either we're waiting on background checks, we're waiting on fire inspections, we're waiting on paperwork, and so we can't place with them yet, but they are in the process.
What about relatives? You said something about relatives.
7 relatives in the process of being licensed. So those kids might actually have the children placed with them, but they're not completely licensed yet, because we can emergency license a relative.
I take that relative thing, that changes every month probably, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just have a question on the timeline. If someone sees this today and decides they want to be a foster care family, what is the timeline? I understand there's kind of, it varies, but.
I would say 2 to 3 months from start to finish for the process.
And some of that timeline is out of our control too. If we send those background checks in, I know Alex has had a case, or even Gail, where she's got all her paperwork done, but we're waiting for those background checks from DHS to be cleared.
So how many foster homes, I know we have kids in other counties, but they're in group homes or something like that, but do we have foster homes in other counties that we have?
Yep, we've had, we have maybe kids who are placed with relatives in other counties, and then the other county would license those homes. Or we have had to place some kids out of county, more in our adolescent teenage population, because we don't have as many homes for those teenagers here who don't require a shelter care, but just require either a regular or a therapeutic foster home. So we've had kids, like probation has and social services, some kids placed in Becker County, or neighboring counties that have homes with teenagers. Wilkin County has a couple of treatment foster homes for adolescent girls that we've placed at.
Alex and I don't license though outside of Clay County, and we just license home within Clay County unless we're helping out another county agency.
Well, I was just looking at, you said you got 47 homes in Clay County, you got 140 children in there. I mean,
But that would include, the 140 kids would include our residential placements, would include probation placements, would include out-of-county placements.
And I just want to add, like, some of our foster parents here in Clay County are just the greatest groups of families that we work with. I can send an email response saying, we have an emergency, who can help? And I get emails back saying, we're in. We just recently had an instance where it was a sibling group of 4 and had an emergency, and I called up someone and they said, we've had these kids in the past, we care about them, we already have a placement, but you know what, we can change, we can adjust our schedule, and we'll take them. They're just an unbelievable group of people we have, and families here in Clay County that are willing to help.
Okay, Alex?
Everything I know is that we do have a really good group of foster homes that are really willing to go above and beyond at times when we need it, which is, those kids really need the stability and the structure that the foster homes provide.
Well, I think it's really encouraging to hear that we have 13 new applicants. When you look at the where we've gone with our out-of-home placement costs in this county, and the ability to have more local options, I hope that even more Clay County families can determine that foster parenting would be a good fit for them too. But thank you for that report. That's excellent. So
yeah, and those 13 are non-relatives that are applying. So some of them they may not end up being licensed, but they're 13 non-relatives right now, and then the 7 relatives.
And we've had relatives who fostered their family and later decide to stay on and be foster homes. So that's another potential that we have in those with the relatives. Because I can think of a couple we've had that are.
And just last week we had a relative that did a transfer of custody recently on a child. And I called them up because thinking we were going to close our license, and they talked about how really fulfilling it was and that they really want to just stay on board to maybe do some weekend help, which is amazing. So, yeah, they're great.
all right, it's a perfect time to go into this foster care proclamation, huh? So I'll read this. Whereas the family serving as the primary source of love, identity, self-esteem, and support is the very foundation of our community. And whereas foster parents provide an invaluable service to the children, youth, and families of Clay County. And whereas the foster parents give generously of themselves to provide nurturing, safety, guidance, hope, and love in a safe, secure, and stable home. And whereas foster parents recognize the opportunity to help a child or youth and their family in ways that will influence them for the remainder of their lives. And whereas foster, kinship, and adoptive families who open their homes and hearts to children play a vital role in helping children and families heal and reconnect, thereby launching young people into successful adulthood. Yes. Whereas dedicated foster families frequently adopt foster children, resulting in a greater need for more foster families. Whereas Foster Care Appreciation Month in Clay County is an appropriate time to thank the families who embrace the opportunity of providing a home and family to children in need of affection, love, and security. Now, therefore, we, Clay County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim May as Foster Care Appreciation Month in Clay County, and we call upon all our citizens to recognize the contributions made by our foster families throughout our county. We also urge all citizens to come forward and to do something positive that will help change the life of child and youth in foster care. Okay, so that's...
I'll move the proclamation.
Second.
Any discussion? It's perfect. It's so well said. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Okay, anything else?
No,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is this the one you need signed?
Sure.
Okay, our next item is the sentence to serve State of Minnesota income contract discussion. Good morning, Janelle.
Hello, how are you guys?
Good.
Good. I did previously send the quarterly reports as well as the new contract that came out recently. Today I also have to hand out, Mark worked on, he received some letters of support, some thank yous, and then we also compiled a list of some of the projects that he completes. And so in the quarterly reports, it kind of itemizes out per the most recent quarter. I think Mark had an average of 4 to 5 crew members. And I think within the report, it kind of outlines that the value of the projects that Mark and his crew have worked on estimated about $80,000 for this quarter. And so I think today's purpose, I know last time I spoke on this, there may have been some inquiries, some interest in some of the projects or what it is that our STS crew does. And so Mark Dibble, our crew leader, is here to speak to that. And if you have any questions at the end, he'll try and answer.
Yeah, thanks. Janelle asked me to come and put a face on the program and kind of explain what the heck we do. We do a lot of state, county, city, township, nonprofits. We help all the small towns with their maintenance. Townships, we do a lot of brushing, a lot of painting. Cities, we help every little town that, you know, some of them have one maintenance guy, so we're painting curbs, we're doing hydrants. We have the equipment available to build, maintain, mow, weed whack, cut down trees. In Holly, when they had their big windstorm last summer, we did a lot of the cutting up of the trees and hauling them away, brush, getting them out of people's yards. Program works because 25 years ago they decided that nobody was paying their fines, so instead of having kids sit in jail and just wasting away time, we take them out. They get $8 an hour to help pay off a fine, and then they also are giving something back to the community. A lot of kids appreciate getting out, and a lot of the towns appreciate the kids so much that they feel accomplishment instead of just sitting there.
Where do you get the $8 an hour from?
That's what the $8 an hour is what the kids are paid out of their fine per hour. And the state figures out on I don't do the project as far as, it's all figured out through some kind of computer deal, generated deal.
I believe it's established by the state. However, each county does have the ability, if the court ordered a different amount to compensate that, they could do that. Here in Clay County, it's been set at 8.
So
Okay,
there-
do we reduce, oh, I'm sorry.
No, so in essence, when they go out and do this work, they're paying off their fines.
Correct.
Right.
They're not
At
getting money.
$8
They're
an
not
hour.
getting money.
No, there's
they're
no
paying-
money going into their pocket.
Right.
It's credits towards.
It's
In
being
fact, we've
credited
had
for their
kids that have
service.
gone
For their
through
fine.
and
Right.
got $2,500 work out of them, and they only had a $500 fine, but their sentence was later than what their court order was.
And what we do, they can only pay off the fine portion. They can't pay off the surcharge or the fee. That still has to be monetarily paid to the court system. And what we do is complete paperwork that indicates that they completed X amount of hours to pay towards their fine, so there's no exchange of money.
I know earlier, Janelle, I brought up to bring him along to put the face to this, because I know Mike used to do it. And
Yes.
this is kind of the nice thing, and the public can actually see all of these different things that benefit each and every one of our communities and the county as a whole, so.
Yes.
This really is,
When I took on this job, I didn't even know this was a program, and, I talked to a lot of people that don't, I've done a lot of legwork trying to get people involved, townships and whatnot, and they didn't even know SDS existed as an entity, and
yeah, one thing you may want to consider doing is, this might be a really good topic for the semi-annual township officers meeting to present to them on this, and that goes out to every township, and their township officers are there. And this would be a golden opportunity for them to hear what's available. You'd probably have to tell them what the process is to
Right.
get approved, but.
I did go out to Morgan last year, and Frank was there.
Mhm.
They asked me to come out and speak, just give them an idea of what's available.
I think those meetings are in
November and March, right?
November and March, yeah. So I think this would be an excellent place to get on the agenda to talk about that.
Yeah, I think we definitely want to expand as we can. I was just speaking with Mark. He just incurred a new van that can carry 11 people. Looking at the size of his crew, it's typically that 4 to 5. There are some days that he had 8 people, but definitely wants to utilize it as efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
So looking at some of those projects would be.
For the people watching too, I think we have this program. We also have another one that Monty Martin runs out of the current jail facility,
Correct.
and they both kind of help out the communities, but they're 2 different programs.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, and I think they work well within
yeah.
between the 2 of them. If one isn't able to accommodate that, then the other one is. So working very well together to meet the needs of the communities.
November 20th is the next time.
November 20th. Thank you.
Maybe you'd have that.
I would just also highlight the crew members and the skills that they learn on site. I've watched Mark. We've had him and his crew come over and move some of our office stuff, or their jack of all trades, moving, rewiring, things like that. The rapport that he has with the crew members is very professional. He's had a lot of crew members contact him later about employment opportunities and the skills that they learned while on crew that have helped them gain employment and utilize those things. So it's a very, very beneficial program within the community.
Commissioner Motion?
I just appreciate what you've done with this program, Mark. Thank you very much. And also want to comment from the smaller communities and the festivals and the fairs. I know that you complete a significant amount of work that really would not be able to get done otherwise. So thanks for the community outreach that this program provides. But also, there's a level of professionalism that you've brought to this that there, in the past, I think has been a stigma about who the certain clientele or that are completing the work. And I think our community, one, feels safe with the people that are doing the work, but that's because we've set the bar really high as to who's allowed to do that. And so thank you for what you've brought to that.
I think, that's well said, and I think to add, just for, again, for people watching, different types of things you've done, in your report here, you've worked at the Clay County Fair, Glendon Days, Potato Days in Barnesville, Hitterfest in Hitterdal, Turkey Barbecue Days in Ulen, Loco Days in Dilworth, the Rodeo in Holly, Felton Days. You helped parks in Cragness and Georgetown. You helped Mullen Township with some mowing, Morgan Township tree removal, Spring Prairie brush ditches, emergency services, as you mentioned, the windstorm that gone through Holly. You were there very involved with the tree cleanup. So it goes on and on and on, and along with that, there's several letters of people who are thankful for your service, and I think our community needs to be aware of the good work you're doing. So,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Okay.
And I will just end with, I attached the contract. It is up for renewal. On my cover sheet, I referenced fiscal year 17 and fiscal year 18. However, that was wrong. It is fiscal year 18 and fiscal year 19 that we would be looking at signing the contract for. Again, information came out maybe a month ago about a 6% increase to the STS contract. Basically, historically there hadn't been the increases at the county level. That was an oversight, and now the state is addressing that. And so the counties will see a 6% increase, but as we mentioned earlier, I think the value of the projects completed and the many things that they do within several communities is worth the amount that contract is.
So the contract is not to exceed the 131.
Correct.
Okay. What was that in the prior contract?
I think they always set it up at that, but that is not what your contract, your contract is. Okay, let me.
Because it even
I should
breaks
have
down,
highlighted it in this
it breaks down
contract.
those payment amounts, and they appear to equal the 131. Payments made on January and July and January of 19.
Okay, and I think, is that for the 2-year contract?
Yes.
Yes, that is correct then.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I
Yeah.
have one question on the first page of the contract. I had reviewed the contract, but just something that was said today made me question under number 2, state's duties, 2.2, small letter E, it says dollar benefit of STS labor at $7 an hour. And I heard it said this morning that it's 8, so I wonder if that needs to be amended.
That will need to be amended. I think that the blanket is 7 across the state, and so this contract addresses across the state, but each county sets a different dollar amount.
But that's simply, that doesn't have anything to do with the 2-year dollar contract of 131,000.
Correct.
Because that's
It
a
is.
separate issue.
It's a separate issue. It doesn't have any
But
effect
it-
on the ultimate price.
But we just need the clarity.
This is the
of-
value of the
We just
labor.
want to make sure the term is
Correct.
correct within the contract before we sign.
It's
So-
what we look to give credit to the client for when they get credit towards their fine.
So if we could have, if we're gonna have a motion here, if it can reflect that item number 2E on the contract be clarified to the current county rate, would that be okay?
That would be perfect, thank you.
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the contract?
I'll move to approve the contract with the correction from 7 to 8.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you,
Thank you.
Janelle.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. This good work. Thank you. All right. Georgia and Joe. We're going to talk about the Family Service Center fire alarm system.
Good morning.
Morning.
We're having trouble, kind of ongoing trouble with our fire alarm system at the Family Service Center, so I asked Joe if he would acquire us a couple quotes for the equipment, and I guess I'll let Joe take off from there.
Yeah, actually, just this morning we were having troubles with it, but I guess we'll start off with, definitely this system is pretty old, and it has been a challenge for us to service it. They don't make parts anymore, and it's kind of a code issue, so we've really struggled within the last year here to keep it working properly. So what we did is George and I had met and met with a few contractors to discuss, what kind of a system we would do moving forward, and we've gotten 2 quotes here, one from Simplex, and their total was $70,120, and Protective Systems was $58,640. And another big thing that we looked at was the service afterwards, because every year we have an annual inspection that we need to do where they come to go through the whole building and everything, and so we really focused on also the dollar amount per hour. And as you can see, we got both of the companies per hour. Simplex was at $208 and Protective Systems was at $80 an hour. And we also factored in their trip charges that they have too there at Simplex was at $90 and Protective Systems was at $40. So this time we request to move forward with Protective Systems. We have them over at the Juvenile Center, and we've really liked what they've done, so that's what we're requesting. Anything, miss anything? Or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So how, what does this building have?
As far as which company?
Mhm.
We have Simplex right now,
Okay.
yep. And I think I think we're running on about 15 years here. Usually them panels last about 20 years, so that one is on our capital improvement fund, our plan, and so we've been kind of watching that one but that one's been pretty solid lately, but we kind of know when they get into that 15, 16 years they start.
And the 2 new facilities that we're currently constructing,
Yes. I believe the the jail is going with Protective Systems, and I think we're still discussing the LEC portion of it, but
so it's not important that they all be on the same system?
It's not the top thing. It's a convenience, I guess, for myself, but it is good that we're uniform that way. But we also have Simplex out at DMV, and that was a newer system. So I mean, definitely each building is kind of a standalone thing. Okay. So they're not tied together as one central unit, and so we can definitely have a couple different ones. But yeah, we switched over for the juvenile, and we felt that their system, that Protective System offers, is a simple system that our crew can work on and not have to hire out so much either. So that's kind of the view on it.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the low.
Second.
Okay, low quote, second. All right, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Just a note, we'll be paying this out of our maintenance fund,
Yep.
out of our family service center.
Yep.
So, we're good. So,
Thank you, guys.
yep, thank you.
Thank you. Eric, are you here for Dave?
Yep, I'm going solo today. So
All right.
I got a couple handouts here for you quick. I'll explain things.
Looking at striping quotes.
So the map I'm handing out actually has two sides to it. The front side is north of Trunk Highway 10, and the back side is south.
All right, whenever you're ready.
All right. So, as I mentioned, I am here today requesting approval for two separate striping projects. On the map that I handed out, we have green color and a pink color. And the green color is gonna use federal safety dollars. And the pink color is just our normal county maintenance striping. So I guess the first project I'd like to go into would be the green one, which is the federal one. And just to give a little background on the project, this past fall, we entered into an agreement with about a dozen Minnesota counties, with Otter Tail County being the lead agency. And the reason we do that is just to try to help streamline the project, all the federal paperwork, maybe get a little better unit price as well. And that project is just for safety reasons, if there's no shoulder, that sort of thing. And recently we did open bids, and the low bid was Sir Lines a Lot in the amount of, yeah, that's a funny name. That's a pretty good one.
That was a joke.
I think they're out of the Metro, and their bid amount was $49,347.52. And I'd also like to point out that it 90% federal funds, and that'd be 10% local funds.
That's for just the center line? Green?
That is just for the edge line. Yeah, so we'll actually come back as part of our maintenance project and stripe the skips down the middle. But the federal money can only be spent just on those white edge lines. So.
Do you get several applications, quotes?
Yeah, I believe we do have the bid abstract here. I think we got numbers back from, over a half dozen companies. The engineer's estimate was around 62,000, so we did get a pretty good price. We're pretty happy with that.
And Eric, this is being administered by Otter Tail County, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So Otter Tail County will do all the administration and then bill us back for it.
Okay. So you don't need an approval by us?
I believe we would like to approve the numbers, so when we do come back for our 10% share.
I'll make a motion to approve Sir Lines a Lot.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Is this for 49,000 or just 10% of 49,000?
The total amount would be 49,000, and then the local share would be 10% of that.
4,900.
So it's our share of the 12 county work.
Correct. Yep, all 12 counties
District
together
4.
came up to like almost $1 million, yeah, 865,000.
Okay.
Oh, so we do owe 49,000.
Yeah.
Clay County's gonna have 49.
Correct, but we'll get federal funds for 90% of it.
Cool.
If that makes sense.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
And then the second part I'd like to discuss is the pink ones. And that is just our normal maintenance striping that we usually do annually. And then also as part of that, we're gonna come back and stripe the skips so we don't just have white edge lines on the federal part. And we actually reached out to about a half dozen contractors, and we did get numbers back from 3. With the low number coming in from the company Traffic Marking Services. They're out of Maple Lake, Minnesota, and the amount for approval is $72,350.89. And this would include edge line and center line striping.
And this is not federally matched, this is.
No, this would come out of our maintenance budget.
This
Yes.
has been included in our maintenance budget.
Yep.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Okay, and that was the low.
Yep, that was the low bid, and the estimate was 81,000, so we also got a good number on that.
Very good, all right. We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gross. Any further discussion?
Yeah,
Okay. All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I think that covers everything on our agenda this morning. We do have the Greater Fort Ward Economic Development Annual Meeting at 11:30.
It's at 11:30.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I had one update I wanted to bring to the board's attention. Last week, we did resolve all our pending tax litigation with Menards. That's been ongoing for 5+ years. We went to trial, we've been appealed to the Supreme Court, and last week we did resolve all of those open cases. So
Very good.
it's just another bit of good news today.
What was the resolution?
We entered into stipulations for the 2 open petitions that we had. We agreed to a value of that property based upon the ruling we had gotten from the tax court and the Supreme Court, and then the inflation values and the comparable sales of property recently, which we see going up. So I think it's a good resolution, and hopefully we can put that in the rearview mirror now, so.
All right,
That is good news.
very good, thank you. All right, with that, we will be adjourned.